Hey there, nerds. I'm Dr. Jordan Breeding, and we received a cease and desist from Pepsi, but you're watching Your Brain on Crack, the only show where... Sorry, I'm getting set up for a joke. Hello? Oh, if I tell you my credit card number, I get a slightly used set of towels? Amazing! No, I'm not worried that this might be a scam. Hollywood has taught me that there's no such thing as consequences for one's actions. For example... 0 and 7. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Love you. I did not win the towels, but since we're here, let's talk about movies that straight up ignored the horrific consequences of their supposed happy endings. And yes, I know that's a massage to your penis. Before they became the universal Facebook shorthand for letting people know that you don't really understand science, history, or politics, Minions were just background characters in the 2010 movie Despicable Me, which is about Steve Carell doing every possible accent all at once.
You will not cry, or sneeze, or bark, or f***.
The movie centers on a dude named Gru and his attempt to somehow steal the moon, which would also forever eliminate the threat of werewolves, and yet they call him a supervillain for that? That's Hollywood liberalism for you.
Calm down now.
Gru's plan is very simple. He steals a shrink ray, he flies to the moon, he shrinks the moon, he grabs the moon.
I sit on the toilet. What?
Gru's plan works and he brings the tiny moon to Earth, where it suddenly reverts to its original size and launches back into orbit. Thankfully, the real priceless heist turned out to be the 3 little girls that Gru adopted along the way. I mean, technically he lied to adopt them, so it's technically kidnapping or a kidnoption, which is kind of terrifying, but not nearly as terrifying as the moon getting so close to Earth. The Earth spinning on its axis generates centrifugal force, which keeps the water on our planet more or less still. And yes, Dave already took my lunch money, shut up. The moon's gravitational pull disrupts that water, which is how we get tides. But here's the thing about that. According to science, if the moon was located just 20,000 miles from Earth instead of the current 384,000, then its gravitational force would be so massive, it'd cause cataclysmic flooding that would destroy major cities around the world, like London or New York, or someplace that actually mattered, like wherever they manufacture Costco hot dogs.
Just the tips. Just the tips.
And the moon at the end of Despicable Me got all unshrunk way below the 20,000 miles mark. Yeah, it was for just a few seconds, but that still would have been enough to disturb the ever-loving crap out of the oceans, causing them to retreat inland to escape Earth's space testicles, suddenly ignoring social distancing protocols. Most of the eastern and western US coastline, gone. Japan, underwater. Europe, adding fish to the list of official European Union languages. Aquaman, he's now the king of the entire planet. Amber Heard, the results are still pending as of this recording.
It would be wrong to judge.
It's eerily similar to that movie where Jim Carrey uses the power of God to bring Earth's heavenly orb closer to the planet, and also to enlarge his girlfriend's heavenly orbs and bring them closer to his face, resulting in the untimely deaths of thousands of Japanese people. This would be like that, except way more death and way fewer magically enhanced titties. And if that movie can ignore those consequences, then I can ignore these. Minority Report takes place in an opposite world future where the police actually prevent murders by giving drugs to children.
Here we go again.
This causes them to have constant clairvoyant nightmares about real people who are going to get lethal crimed in the face. By scanning their dreams, the cops are able to stop every killing within Washington, D.C. The movie explains that the process works so well, planned murder never occurs in the US Capitol. Only occasional spontaneous crimes of passion remain. But here's the other big thing. If it's basically impossible to get murdered in Minority Report's Washington, D.C., then that city logically must have become a global haven for people trying to not get murdered, in the face or otherwise.
I can't touch you. Don't touch him or anything else.
You might think murder isn't the most common concern for most people, but you're not considering people like gangsters, informants, political dissidents, those escaping from stalkers, or genius inventors this close to revolutionizing breakfast as we know it.
It's just Smarties in a bowl with milk.
All of those people would naturally flock to a place like DC and Minority Report. But that doesn't mean that the killers pursuing them would go, "Oh, shucks, an obstacle in our attempt to snuff out all human life? Guess we'll just give up."
Sudden moves, Chief.
Not a chance. There are probably tons of underworld surveillance services keeping tabs on these murder refugees in case they ever leave DC. The city itself constantly monitors citizens by scanning their eyeballs through cameras located literally everywhere. It wouldn't be too hard to keep track of specific individuals. So guys like Fat Tony, or whoever, might be safe as long as they stay within the city limits, but chances are that slightly fatter Tony always knows exactly where the former is, just waiting for a chance to replace his bone marrow with bullets. And then by the end of the movie, Tom Cruise gives slightly fatter Tony exactly that kind of chance. Minority Report ends with Cruise's character helping free the drugged up precog children, and as a general rule, ending the forced drugging and killing of children is a good thing. No one is suggesting that the precog program should have continued, but that doesn't change the fact that not long after the dissolvement of its future crime division, DC is going to experience a period that will go down in history as the Red Time, or Murdergeddon, or just simply that weak and insane number of DC residents were brutally killed, many just as collateral damage while buying bananas unaware they were standing next to Fat Tony.
Tight lips, can you see the shooter?
I see a lot of things.
And here's the other thing, even before all that, there are a million other crimes that could still occur without precog's knowledge. Everything from rape to robbery to human trafficking to abducting somebody, tying them up in your basement and slowly removing their fingers one at a time over the course of many months as long as they don't actually die. They're not going to detect it. All those criminals in one place still suggest an explosion of every other type of horrific crime. And then the deathpocalypse will exacerbate all of those crimes as well, with the police desperately trying to prevent a war against every single criminal ever. They will be spread too thin. There will be lots of basement finger ripping still.
Unless you make the sacrifice that will cleanse you.
Speaking of shit that should be illegal, have you ever Google image search Sonic the Hedgehog with all the filters disabled? Give me a moment. No consequences, Oh, how would Knuckles fit all of that?
I've been training for this my entire life.
The 2007 film I Am Legend stars a man who some consider a hero, even as others consider him a complete monster. But in the movie, he plays a scientist trying to cure zombieism. Uh-oh! Oh! David Brown just slapped the shit out of me!
Keep fucking my wife's mouth!
I'm going to.
But no, actually, in the original I Am Legend novel and the film's alternate DVD ending, Will Smith's character discovers the zombies he's been experimenting on and killing for years on a post-apocalyptic Earth are actually intelligent and will be the ones who rebuild the world and recreate society now that the humans have been mostly wiped out by mannequins.
What the hell are you doing out here, Fred?
That's where the title I Am Legend comes from. At the end, the protagonist realizes that over the years, he's become a legendary boogeyman to Earth's new tenants, who use him to scare their kids into, flossing the human meat from between their teeth or whatever. But for the theatrical release, that ending was changed to make the film less interesting. There, the mutated humans are snarling, cannibalistic beasts for Will Smith to kill without having to actually feel bad about it. Also, they're called Dark Seekers because the movie is too cowardly to call them what they are. Zompires.
I killed that
Zompile. In the end, Smith's Dr. Neville heroically sacrifices himself to kill a bunch of these Vambies so that Alice Braga can deliver a zombie cure to the military, implying that humans will eventually reclaim our planet. Only, we definitely won't. The movie's alternative ending is actually the uplifting one because it at least shows a humanity-adjacent sapient species will live on. In the theatrical ending, though, the world has been messed up more than a hand that's been in a box full of super scorpions. There's no curing that. The original virus is said to have infected 99% of humanity, killing most while turning some into these mindless monsters.
Track guys, DJs, and people who won't shut up about scuba diving.
So how exactly are these scattered, vastly outnumbered remnants of humanity supposed to deliver the Z-Vax to the infected? In the movie, applying the cure looks super complicated, including capturing a live Vamp and lowering their temperature. I'm sure the military will try to mass produce the cure somehow and wrangle up zombies to jab them, but for everyone they manage to cure, like 10 people will probably end up bitten in turn. It's gonna be 1 step forward, 10 steps backward as the human vaxxers slowly back away from all the new zombies they accidentally created trying to cure them all. Because even if we go by the theatrical release ending and accept that the creatures are not as intelligent as humans, they're still smart enough to set up traps and cooperate. If you want to get the tiniest idea of what the human survivors in the supposedly happy ending can expect, get 2 to 3 friends and try to give a troop of wild mountain gorillas shampoo treatments without killing any of them. Not saying saying it can't be done, but best case scenario, you are not returning with the same number of limbs you originally set out with.
Oh my god!
We've seen movies where something temporarily affects large parts of the world, like in X-Men 2 when Patrick Stewart gets all up inside people, but in a bad way.
Physics.
But even the worst case resultant carnage from Professor X's actions would still be nothing compared to the ending of the 2014 action spy comedy, KINGSMAN.
You like spy movies, Mr. DeVere?
Recap. The main villain of KINGSMAN is Samuel L. Jackson playing a lisping tech bro trying to murder billions of people. I probably could have just ended with tech bro, the rest is implied.
What are you guys making for dinner?
His plan is to cull the human population by broadcasting a global murder signal that will force all of humanity into a battle royale. Only a number of select politicians and rich pricks who share Tech Bro Jackson's vision would be spared. But instead, the hero Eggsy blows all their minds, literally, and saves the day. Only, did he? The murder signal had more than enough time to do substantial damage. Eggsy's mom barely avoids murdering her infant daughter because her son's friend called ahead and told her to lock the kid in another room. Billions of people around the world did not have that luxury. During the ensuing rampage, parents must have killed their children, spouses slaughtered one another, siblings treated each other's faces like pumpkins on Halloween, and much worse. And then the murder signal was cut, putting them face to horrifically stabbed face with what they've done. Many would not be able to forgive themselves. And even if they could, if you woke up with a stranger holding a knife 3 inches inside of your leg, what would you do? Probably try and kill them, murder signal or not. The killing spree would absolutely unravel the fabric of society because here, the mass deaths aren't the result of some ass-chinned eggplant alien from Planet Escapism. The murders were perpetrated by the people that you know and love.
It was never personal.
There would be suicides, broken families, and a global trauma that honestly might never heal, because here's the other problem. The majority of the world leaders are also dead. Disrupting efforts to stop the planetary bleeding would be extra tough with nobody in charge. And since the murder signal broadcast was only made possible through Jackson's free internet SIM cards, people are going to absolutely mistrust all technology.
But hopefully for Canadian Thanksgiving, you get to eat a lot of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
Not long after Eggsy takes the old dirt road up to Scandinavia, having a smartphone will be as socially acceptable as a swastika dick tattoo.
Marvelous.
The world would basically regress into a Luddite society where everyone subsides on roots and, I don't know, roasted hedgehogs. Just be sure to check their asses before you cook them. You never know if you might find some in there.
My rings!
But hey, some of us don't let little things like the easily predictable, horrendous outcomes of our actions stop us from living our lives the way we want to. Yummy, yummy. Well, Grandma, I hope you like this video. No consequences. Ah!